Hey, what's up, guys? So this is gonna be the daily recap. I am going to pull up the stocks that I traded. So I traded BPTH. So I had a game plan going into this that I wanted to trade mostly long, right? Well, if you look at this, the problem is this is essentially the floor, right? It keeps on moving up, moving up, moving up, moving up. But like the biggest thing was this big stuff candle. And I was like, all right, man, I feel like this might have like a pullback before open. I did not think it was going to go way the hell up here. I'm trading this at like 240s, so I was risking over 250. This thing had a topping out. It had a stuff of a whole dollar number. It also, if you look at this, was trading crazy volume. So I mean, this thing is trading, already like 500,000 shares in pre-market. And then it tops out on this stuff candle with over 1 million. I was like, dude, that's a lot of shares. The other thing is, if I pull this up, I need to erase some of this stuff. I believe that BPTH had like 3 million shares. I know they had offerings that they could do. BPTH. So it had 4 million shares. I had 4 million shares. 1%, 1.5% institutional ownership. It was down on cash. 12 gaps, 10 closed red. I've traded this in the past. I was like, dude, really? I think this is going to at least have a pretty decent pullback. I really did not think that it was going to go that high. That's the problem, though. Is like, you can think whatever the hell you want, but like, one thing that should have really been a indication to me was when I took the short, right? So I'm short on this 1 minute bar. This thing's trading almost 1 million shares, like right before me, and then right when I got squeezed out, it was at 8:45, and this thing traded, 2 million shares, and it just ripped like crazy. So the idea was this thing, had a topping right here. It ripped straight through that, right? So when it did rip through it, it came back down. What my thought process was, I was like, okay, this thing is clearly trading on really high volume. I'm gonna look for the long, but I was having a hard time reading this. And the other big thing was, honestly, I was in with way too much size. And if I would have just traded this with smaller size, I could have absolutely killed it. Like no joke. This trade is, at 270. Okay, I could have been trading with much smaller size. This thing topped out at almost like 430s, right? And that's a huge move. I don't care how many shares you're trading with. That's a big ass move. But like, I got diced up in here. I can't remember how much I was down on all this stuff. But the other thing is, the last one I actually switched short, and then got out. Where I was like, dude, this isn't gonna squeeze, man. And I got out, and they just ripped like crazy. The other thing to keep in mind, right, is this thing ripped above $4. I don't know if that'll let me do this. Actually, it will. So it ripped above $4, right? So ripped above $4. It tops out at 433. So that's a 30-cent wick, right? realistically, like no joke, like you could have got in right here at $4 when it's stuff to get on the second candle, lower volume. Okay, cool, man. Like get in right there, risking over that. Yeah, sure, dude. Get in with small size. Who gives a shit? This thing bounces down to here. Goes back up to there. It does not give you a lower high, but I mean, I don't know. Like for me, if it's bouncing down around, like I don't know, maybe just stay in small size. Who gives a shit? You're in small size for $4. You cover down here at 285. Once again, like there's so much range on this that you don't need to be greedy. And like I'm talking to myself. I'm not talking to you guys. But you know, one thing that I was trying to do in pre-market was when this thing fell down. My thought process was actually here, since I can use it's actually on my account. I was thinking like this, right? So this thing's roughly trading between $3.50 and $4, right? So unfortunately, you know, right here. Oops. Oh shit. So I took a short, literally in no man's land, which is horrible because the way that I teach is you long near the bottom, you short near the top. Okay, well this is where I should have been longing at, down here. I should have been like a freaking sniper. Okay, dude, get in like down like risking 5-10 cents. Okay, whatever. Like what I was looking for is I thought this thing was gonna squeeze because there's been a lot of long opportunities, but where my long opportunities would be like, I mean, realistic. This really after the open had zero long opportunities at all because the way that this thing looks, I don't want any of this because the overhead, all the volume was in pre-market, right? This thing was a pre-market move. So you know, like which is why I need to go back and relook at these things. Was there a play at open? No, there wasn't. Um, this was a pre-market trade, 100%. This thing went up from like 80 cents up to $4.33. This thing almost, you know, it didn't give all of it back. It didn't break under $1, but it gave a lot back. And there's been really good long opportunities, but the difference is the stocks I'm trading that are good long opportunities, they do not have overhead resistance, especially not in pre-market. In pre-market, they like it would have been like if this thing would have been trading around here, you know, it wasn't up that much. It's consolidating for a long time, and then open hits, volume kicks in, and then it's easy to rip over this. But this thing went from like 80 cents to 430 on crazy amounts of volume, where there's a bunch of people getting stuck in pre-market. They're gonna want to sell, and probably had the same idea that I did. Like, hey man, there's been a lot of really good long opportunities. I'm gonna long this thing, and we're gonna see what happens. This is not a good long opportunity at all. The next stock that I traded was BEPT, I believe. No, I lied. What was the stock called? Shit. 1 second. Alright, I figured it out. It was TE or TPET. I kept on saying TEPT or whatever the hell. But anyways, so this thing I kind of screwed up on. Well, I didn't kind of screw up. I totally screwed up on again. So just back to my absolute basics, right? So this thing had a topping out, a ceiling up here, right? Clearly, it's got a floor right here, and it's got a big floor right there. So for me, what I should have been doing is I should have been looking for this. And this has got a huge sell-off, right? Finds the bottom, and then it recovers a lot of it in a very short amount of time, right at open, actually. So for me, this would have been the best place to long. Obviously, hindsight trading, whatever. But at the best case scenario, like really, this had no good long opportunities, really, because back to what I was saying on the last example, the good long opportunities, they do not have overhead resistance, and so for me, like this is one thing that I'm struggling with because I've been seeing a lot of really good long opportunities. I need to start to really dial in. Okay, dude, you want a long? That's great. Do the same shit that you did with shorts. How would I long this? So this thing was trading. Actually, I wonder if I can do this. Let's do over 800,000. Roughly that. So this thing had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 minutes where it's trading over 800,000 shares in pre-market. That is not what I want to be seeing. I want to see very low volume, like down here in like the 200,000s, and I want to see 200,000s that's kind of like consolidated. I don't want to see this shit going from like 80 cents up to $8 or $4.80. I'm sorry, I'm super freaking tired. But the other thing with this thing is, let's see if I can zoom in a little bit. Wow, that's a lot of it. Actually, that'll work though. So this actually works out a lot better. So this little shithead right there, right? This thing is trading at 1.4 million shares. I knew that it had warrants. I knew that it had offering. I just got a bias in my head that it was going to give another opportunity, right? And in hindsight, that was absolutely retarded because if you go from here to here, it gave a perfect gap and crap. Like, literally. I mean, perfect. Yeah, you can get in here, but, like, honestly, I do not want to be getting in at $3.54, risking $4.60. But, wow, like, really, I don't even want to get in at $4, risking 60 cents. That's a lot of risk. But it worked. And I mean, it worked, and it also touched the final target down here. So I mean, even if you got in with a really small size here at $4, and you covered everything down here at 150, that's a crazy ass day, right? And so it's all about reading, the chart and being present. And I've had a couple of really good long opportunities that I've been really biased on, and yeah, I feel like it's really strained me. And because if you look at this thing pops up, right? It comes over VWAP, comes back down. I long it, I cover, long, cover, long, cover it all. Then it comes back down, comes back up. Long cover, long cover, long cover, and then I took one last long right here with a way too big of a stop. The reason that I was taking a stop is because I was like, man, where am I going to be wrong at? And for me, I was like, breaks under $3. I'm I am really wrong. And so for me, I was like, son of a bitch. Delete. There we go. I was like, if this breaks under $3, I'm really wrong. The problem was I went in with way too big a size. I should not been in with the size I was in at $3.30, risking $3. That's way too much size, and I hit my max loss. Yeah, just stupid trading. But if you're gonna do longs, like I said, this is a message to myself. Make sure there's no freaking overhead resistance. Like, especially not 1.3 million people. Obviously all of that volume is not stuck up here, but there's going to be quite a bit, right? Yes, there's a lot of shares too, but if they dumped shares up here, they're probably going to dump shares, up around here too, because I believe that the offering price was like 130, so which is way the hell down here. Anything above here is just crazy amounts of profit. These guys are racking in tons of money. I have to do my research. I have to make sure that alright, dude, don't be a freaking dumbass. Alright, why in the hell am I longing this shit if there's something like this in pre-market? Like, I don't want big volume in pre-market. I want to have low volume. I want this thing consolidating near my second target, VWAP, all in the same area. Long consolidation, very low volume. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, this thing picks up volume. Awesome. That is a beautiful long candidate. Why? Because there's going to be a bunch of shorts and like, oh, this thing had no volume. Yeah, it doesn't matter what it had, but right now it has a lot of volume. And you short selling this thing, think that like trying to top take this thing is going to add rocket fuel to the stock. It's going to make it skyrocket. That's how you gotta do this stuff. And what I'm doing right now is not good at all. And so I need to be a lot more present and not be so biased, because really this was a beautiful, beautiful ass gap and crap. The BPTH. Once again at 9:30. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie at all. Like, unless you got this thing in pre-market, I would not touch this thing with a 10-foot pole after the open, because I remember it was a halt fest. Halted up, halted up, halted up, halted down, halted down. I'm pretty sure this is all halts. Like, it had like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, maybe 10, 11. Like, it just, I think it had another one over here. Like, screw that shit. I don't want to trade that. How do you trade that? And so, like, well, actually, the answer to that question is you trade it by being in up here, short, and just writing this thing down, not giving two shits what's going on in no man's land, because you're $2 in the money. So, yeah, that's my daily recap. That's kind of my own little ass chewing. And I'm not mad at myself for trying to long stocks. I think it's very, very good to be trying to long stocks, but the stocks need to look the right way. It's the same thing as short selling. Like, what do I want for short selling? I don't want a micro float or a nano float. I also don't want to have a shit ton of volume. What do I want for my longs? Well, for my longs, I want nano float, micro float. I want a shit ton of volume. I want no overhead resistance. I want, a recent IPO, whatever. All the stuff that I don't want for my short. And it's like, dude, okay, cool. Well, like, have a strict playbook. What do I want to trade? I do not want to be trading in no man's land. Like, at all. Like, what am I trading up here? Because for me, actually, here, one second. So, this will be the last little bit. Maybe that actually washes this. My bad, whatever. But for me, that's the range I mostly traded, right? For me, realistically, where's the highest for a million shares? Like right in here. So for me, this is gonna be like the floor. Why? Because that's where the volume started coming in. Okay, so that this for me, you guys can look at the shit however you want. Don't really care. This for me would be the floor. So if the floor is down here at $1.32, the top's up here at $4.32. Why in the hell am I trading long or short at $3? Because for me, I'm not going to do math right now. I'm too tired, but like just eyeballing this, that looks pretty damn near like no man's land to me. So this is just where the chumps and scrubs are trading at. This is not where any of the money is at all. And obviously, it's easy to look at that in hindsight. In the moment, I could have been like, okay, hey, this is the middle. This is no man's land, and like that would have worked out for me for sure. But it didn't react the right way, right? This thing just stuffed out from 250 down to $2. That's a 50-cent dump, and then it took off. That for me, that is not a short. That is a absolute. That's squeezing right there, and it did. It just squeezed, consolidated, and just squeezed more. And you have to be present. You have to be like focusing on this shit and looking at this stuff. And I don't know, like it's so much easier like when you're not in the emotions, but once your emotions take control and you're down money, it's so difficult. But I know I can do it. And that's why I'm putting this stuff out here. I hope you guys learn from this stuff. I hope this speaks to you guys too, and I hope that you guys start improving in your trading as well. Later.